Camera was a sad guy who fell in love with a bashful airhead with negative 1,000 vision. When he discovers she is a freak without her spectacles on, he becomes her handyman and works harder for her in the hope that she may one day fall for him. It all began one morning in history class. However, Camera could not hear a word from the teacher because he was too preoccupied with his crush Mai, who was seated behind him. Despite the fact that Mai arrived, he couldn't stop himself from drooling at how adorable she appeared without her glasses. When she welcomed him in class, Camera answered like a normal timid virgin and couldn't force himself to inquire, knowing he had a negative riz. Surprisingly, Mai broke the ice by grabbing his attention and stating the cause. She was squinting so intensely because she was unable to see. As a result, he decided to lend her his support as a neighbor. The situation was so severe that she couldn't tell which of her textbooks was on history. So, she contacted Camera for assistance. But it only took one look at her gorgeous face to have him flying backwards like a monkey. He tried keep a safe distance by offering her his textbook instead, but she shifted her seat to space immediately by him, prompting him to jump away. Mai recommended reading the history book together, and when he accepted, Mai made it difficult for her. The poor boy was uncomfortably near to her as she buried her face in the textbook while attempting to study it. To avoid his brain having a meltdown, Camera instructed her to use the textbook alone. As he watched her cover her face, she surprised him by approaching him again and asking who he was as he continued to read. When he told her his name, she thanked him for his assistance before burying her face in his textbook again. After class, Camera met Mai in the school hallway, and she complained that her shoes were too wide, making him realize that the clumsy moron was wearing his shoes rather than her own. When he brought it up, she stated that due to her blindness, to try to find her shoes with her hands, and ended up donning his own pair by accident because they were the same brand of two Nikes. Camera decided to take his singing to the next level by assisting her with her shoelaces. As he ties them, she thanked him for his assistance throughout the day. Camera's mind began drifting into La La Land again before she interrupted his fantasy by moving her face near to his and said that she wanted to make sure she recalls his face. That evening, Cammy was on his balcony and understood that the reason a stupid klutz like Mai was able to. Her home was close to school, and he wished she wouldn't forget her glasses again. He wanted to see her eyes again. The following morning, Chamira was astonished when he discovered that Mai. He accidentally damaged her spectacles and felt bad because he knew he had jinxed her with his silly desires. Camera observed Mai asleep during science class, but he couldn't gather the confidence to touch her because he knew it would cause him to spill his natural whipped cream all over himself. When the teacher yelled at Camera to wake up, claimed that Mai was not asleep and was instead burying her face in her book because of her impaired vision, and their teacher wholeheartedly agreed. Some minutes later, Mai unexpectedly woke up and surprised Camera by calling him father, inquiring where her glasses were. He attempted to explain that he was not her father, but she became uncomfortably close to him again, and eventually fell asleep on top of him, causing him to struggle with his virgin desires. He wished for that moment to last forever, but their teacher cut it short by slapping Mai in the head with a notebook. The next, Camera was astonished to realize Mai had forgotten her spectacles yet again in the morning. She startled him even more by coming up. Before walking away to meet her other pals, she stood close to him and announced that she now knew what he looked like. Several hours later, Camera and Mai were serving people lunch in the school cafeteria, and Mai was fumbling badly because once again, she was not wearing her glasses. Camera realized that she was in that circumstance because of his stupidity, which somehow cursed her into breaking her glasses. So he decided to assist her with lunch duties for the day. Seeing that Mai was ruining people's meals, Camera offered to take care of the stew, but she declined by. He was battling some incoherent tea foolishness, so he advised her to dish the stew more slowly. However, she started. Camera suggested they trade roles again after serving the students embarrassingly little servings. However, She refused before expressing her want to eat some stew. Camera inquired if she enjoyed stew, and she replied yes before directing the inquiry to him. In response, Camera replied he preferred curry, and our talk was cut short when a random fathead from their class approached to seek more meat. Camera was ready to speak. Assault the idiot for freaking my out. But he was startled when Mai answered in a pretty calm manner as she requested. Give him more potatoes instead. However, she ended up giving him a lot of flesh. And Kamira realized that the error was owing to the fact that meat and potatoes were the same color. When their lunch duties ended, Mai offered. Kamira gave him some food and whispered into his ear that she saved him a lot of meat in his stew as a way to compensate him for assisting her during her blind periods the other day. She asked Cammy again if he liked stew. This time he was so taken aback by her gorgeous grin that he immediately responded that he loved stew more than everything. When Camera and Mai's pals were chowing down on the lunch she had saved for them, when they saw that she had stacked their stew potatoes instead of meat, Mai strolled into class without her glasses for the first time in a week. She brought out some contact lenses, which she admitted she'd never used previously because of how difficult they were to take off. Nonetheless, she decided to give them a try. When Chamira observed how difficult it was for her to put, instead, he gave a big hero speech about how she could count on him to be her courageous savior. She was hesitant to use the lenses. Everyone in class was taken aback by this spontaneous display of idiocy. But Mai became teary. She gave Camera a thank you look. When Mai arrived at school the next day, Kamira couldn't understand why she had a sour. Despite wearing spectacles, she has a certain expression on her face. And when he inquired why she was squinting, she responded that, because it was so stuffy outside, my glasses fogged up. Just then, a big four-eyed, a classmate named Taquito stepped into their class, and Mai's clouded vision led her to believe it was Aizen from Bleach. She advised phoning the teacher to deal with the intruder. However, Kamira warned her it was. They only had one overweight classmate. She wondered if others would have trouble identifying her as well. And when Chamira encouraged her not to worry about it, she said that the person she wanted to recognize her the most was. Chamira caused his mind to drift into another dimension. Several hours later, I met Chamira in class and requested for his WhatsApp ID through Lime. And after they are afraid, Kamira inquired as to why she had made the request. She explained that she needed it in case she needed his assistance anytime she lost her glasses. When he inquired why she didn't turn to a family member instead, she claimed it would be too embarrassing for her. She also stated that she was okay with Kamira witnessing her in awkward scenarios, which caused the miserable virgins had to suffer another collapse. Later that day, she texted him online. When he arrived at Kichi Station, he was overjoyed since he believed his Jigachad era had finally begun. When he met her there, she stated that she fell asleep on the train and lost her spectacles, He stated that she was not cut out for wearing spectacles. She stated she needed him to help her get anywhere she needed to. Kamira's mind began to swirl again as he perceived it as a date. When he agreed to accompany her, she asked him to pull her there, forcing him to utterly freeze in surprise. They walked hand in hand throughout the town, until they arrived at a particular restaurant. Mai confessed that she was dead set on having their special cake. Kamira noticed Mai attempting to find the cake on her table. He offered to feed it to her. To his amazement, she voluntarily opened her mouth, and he ended up feeding her the cake while thinking about how proud his father would think of him. After that, they proceeded to a glasses store, where Mai bought a new pair and Chamira decided never wash the hand he was holding again. He thanked her and tried to leave the store. However, she stopped him and claimed she wanted to hang out a bit longer because she could now see him clearly, provoking Cammy's face to turn redder than a tomato. The two lovebirds had previously visited several more romantic locales together. Kamira pinched himself as they parted ways, unable to believe that the day they spent together had actually happened. At the same moment, Mai walked home thinking about Chamira and she realized that she spent the entire day staring at. She had never done this for anyone else. The following day at school, Cami asked Mai why she was wearing a nose mask and explained that she had caught a cold. He noticed that her glasses had fogged up due of her breath leaking from her face mask, and she noticed it as well when she heard his pals making fun of. Takeda was in the same scenario. She ended up removing her glasses out of fear that camera would make fun of her. When he questioned where her spectacles were, she claimed she had forgotten them. Several days later, Cami met Mai emoting like a cat at a random street corner. And even though every cell of his being yearned to capture her adorableness, in a photo, he resisted the want to take one and noted that she was playing with a plastic bag, which she thought was a cat because she had once again forgotten her spectacles. He became concerned that she'd be ashamed if she find out the truth. So he pretended to be the cat, but she recognized him when she looked at him. Chamira waited at the entrance, paralyzed in awe, as the most attractive man in class, Azuma, was rising Mai up by offering to assist her find something she had misplaced. She eventually found what she was seeking for, although Camera couldn't. I can't bear the sight anymore. So he turned aside, wondering why he felt so bitter inside. However, in the process, she referred to Azuma as Chamira in order to express her gratitude for his assistance. When Azuma disclosed his true identity to her, she apologized and explained that she assumed he was Kamira, the person who always helped her out. She expressed how humiliated she was. Kamira understood she had made a mistake, so he welcomed her, and she immediately returned the greeting. One day, Mai arrived at school without her spectacles, and her pals said she appeared to be glaring at people without her spectacles made her take a long look in the mirror to determine if they were speaking truthfully. When he approached her in class, she returned his gaze with a remarkably lovely facial expression, which caused his mind to wandered into the dream realm once again till she restored her face to the customary surly expression as she admitted that she was trying not to furrow her brows in order to appear better, but it made it difficult for her to see. Camera has spent He couldn't sleep that night since he had spent the entire day thinking about Mai's lovely expression in that single second, because of the wonderful image that lingered in his head. The following day, Mai informed Camera about how her buddy Isuka had blasted her at a game called Shirtoriai and told him she wants to play with him to improve. During the game, the two of them exchanged some meaningless comments till Mai observed that Chamira was taking it easy on her and asked him to continue bullying her. He followed her instruction and the game got super intense until Michael Camera's name, which stunned and left him speechless. After school on a specific day, Komodo and Mai were doing cleaning duty, and Komodo was thrilled since he was getting to spend some delightful time with Mai when a cockroach arrived and began moving towards her. Cami. He wondered what to do because he knew Mai wasn't wearing her spectacles at the moment, which meant she could be surprised if he informed her to the bug that was near her. He eventually decided to take action and tell Mai to walk. She approached him again, but this time she got too near. Just thereafter, a classmate called Normie exclaimed, "There was a cockroach in the room," so Mai hugged Cami firmly out of fear for her life. The following day, Mai did a typical klutz move, telling Camera she'd forgotten her spectacles, even though they were there on top of her head. When Camera informed her about it, she attempted to wear it properly but accidentally caused it to fall off her. Instead, focus on the head. Camera scooped it up for her and, at her request, helped her place it back on her face. Much later, Mai was without her glasses again, and she stumbled across a letter that had been left on the floor by some random girl.
School.
When Camera came by, she delivered it to him, and he realized it was a love letter to Azuma. When telling her this, she took the letter and departed to Finda, forcing him to hunt her down in a desperate manner. When Mai delivered Izuma the love note, everyone in class gasped in surprise, and Chamira, who was watching at the door, he's about to lose his sanity. Mai's acquaintances quickly began bothering her with inquiries regarding her feelings for Azuma. And when she casually professed to like him, every girl in class gasped in surprise at the same time not. I knew she didn't mean it romantically. Azuma left the class to read the love letter, and Kimura followed. He wanted to find out who the sender was. However, he couldn't figure anything out because he had never. He received a love letter. After class that day, Kimura's head became clouded by dismal ideas. I made him feel like she liked Azuma, and she interrupted his pondering by asking if he was all right. Kimura inquired how she felt about him, and she responded she liked him, which made Chamura worry what kind of like she meant. However, she went farther and stated to camera that she genuinely liked him rather than Azuma, which caused Chamura to leap. He got out of his seat in disbelief. Just then, Azuma showed up and handed Mai a love letter, claiming it was a response to her own. Mai told Cammy to read it because she couldn't do it herself. After a few minutes of worry, Kimura, finally, read the letter. Thank you for watching to this point. This is not the end. For part 2, don't forget to like and subscribe. We got other interesting anime recaps for you. Choose the left or the right video.